was pretty much going well until it didn't. And I was just like, is this really happening? It just became so hostile at that point. They kept insisting. Hi, how are you? It's been a while. You miss me? Tomorrow, I have a flight scheduled to the UK. It's gonna stay there for a couple days, but then have another flight scheduled for Turkey, Istanbul. I'm going to have a hairline transplant with Heva Clinic. They pronounce it Heva. Lots of people like to pronounce it Heva. And yeah, personally, I'm not that mad at like the actual height of my forehead, but your girl just has a hairline that is pushed back from my ear to the back of my neck. Like, I look like an airbender. And I don't want to be in my 60s and I'm just out here like feeling the wind on my balding scalp. So we're going to do something about it. I chose Heva in particular because they specialize in black hair, and that's very difficult to find in the United States. I did look into providers here in the US, one in particular in Florida called like Hairline Restorations, but I ultimately did not go with them because of two things. The first one is a woman had gone there and did not have a good experience, and the clinic basically ghosted her. Not basically, they ghosted her. And then the second is this is something that is just the go-to in the United States because this method, FUT, is just a lot cheaper, takes less time. But at the expense of having a large ass scar in the back of your head, they'll excise a horizontal strip and then they'll suture it back up. And you don't want to have to contend with the risk of terribly keloiding. And it also, when you have a large scar in the back of your head, it also results in a more painful and uncomfortable healing. So why do that? I'm going to go with the more modern, less painful method of FUE. So they excise each individual hair follicle. And yeah, so you look up Heva, you may look them up on the internet, on Reddit, forums, hair restoration network, and you will find results. One thing that is certainly missing on the account of experiences is actually taking you within the office and having the consultation and kind of taking that extra step to prepare you for your expectations. We're going to go through it. That's what I want to show you. And we are going to go on this journey together. So the next time I see you, it will be in Istanbul. Okay, so it's the morning of. I have about 15 minutes to eat breakfast and grab some fruit at Address Hotel. That's one of the hotels that is partnered with Heva. This is a beautiful hotel, and I'm going to show some clips of like the room, and yeah, it's a beautiful hotel. So the driver is going to come in like 15 minutes. They actually took me to the wrong hotel at first. So this morning, light breakfast. I was thinking about sedation, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Well, I can't because I'm eating. I'm going to show some clips of like what I'm starting with. Something I forgot to mention, I'm doing hairline and then also eyebrows. Tired of these struggle eyebrows. So let's hope that today goes well. It's going to be like 8 hours of surgery. Okay, so I did the thing. I just came back from Heva. It's been 10 hours or so, and it's 8 o'clock now. So the day was pretty much going well until it didn't. And I'll provide a synopsis of what happened today. So at 7:15, we had a driver scheduled to pick us up. He was a little bit late, and I can tell one of the other women who was also in the lobby waiting with me, she wasn't too pleased because she had an issue with the driver on a previous day not showing up on time. But eventually he came, and we moved over to the clinic. Heva itself, it's a nice office. It's pretty, and we went down into the office and signed some paperwork. And immediately after we went, they called us into a separate room to make the payment. And then nearly immediately after, we had a consult with Dr. Sita and team. The consult went well, and I have a clip of how that went.
Good eyebrows, please. Good eyebrows. Ne kadar çok kaldırırsa o kadar iyi kaslarını gözlemleyebilirim.
If you can lift your eyebrows more, she can see your forehead muscles well. Better.
Hocam asla
This would be very hard with Botox.
Botoksu mu varmış?
As you can see, there are two different styles. Like the left is different than right
Okay.
in terms of style.
Burada da yine girinti çıkıntı verebilirim, zikzaklarla ilerleyebilirim. Bu kendisinin aslında kaslarının bana verdiği hattı, bu şekilde inen bir hattı var. Fakat o çok fazla eğer giriş çıkış isterse bu şekilde dalgalar da vererek de ilerleyebilirim.
So basically, she said that in both of the cases, the way that she's gonna put the grafts is gonna be in a zigzag way, so it's not gonna be like super sharp, super neat. But as you can see, this side is a bit more wavy than that side. So there are two different styles. She said that when you lift your eyebrows, the muscles gives us this kind of hairline. But to your liking, she can also create something like this. Again, in both of the cases, she will put the grafts in a zigzag way. So even if you prefer this one, it's not going to look like sharp, neat. It's going to look natural. She thinks that both of the sides are actually good. And in both of the cases, she can give the result that you showed us in the pictures.
Okay.
But what she thinks is that choosing this part would be smarter because there's, like I told you, there can be a possibility to carry the hairline a little bit back. In that case, having this one would be more like, would be smarter basically.
I agree. I actually like the way that the corner is on this more. It looks a little bit more natural.
Bunun köşeli halini, hani hafif köşeli olması durumunu falan daha çok beğenmiş. Bunun daha doğal olduğunu düşünüyorum. Ben bu tarafı, burayı daha yuvarlak, burayı birazcık daha köşeli hissediyorum.
Evet. Şundan bahsediyorsun.
Evet, tam şu dönüp aşağı doğru inerken.
The artist is at work.
Bir kaşı var burada.
Minimal bir kaşı da var. Bunu da sormak istiyorum peki. Yani çok büyük bir şey istemediğim farkındayım kaşı için ama yine de saçlarım çok daha önemli benim için derse bir yerler düşünülebilir.
Oldu bence.
Bence şu an oldu. Ölçümle yapmak istiyorum.
She's also gonna measure it, okay? See the symmetrical.
Do you mind if I use it?
The what?
Oh, do you mind if I? Yes, thank you so much. Yeah. And thank you for your patience. I know it can be a lot to like
No, of course.
walk through this.
Totally understand. This is a big change for
Yeah. Don't worry, it's okay. You'll be fine.
Daha doğal bir görsel oluşturur. Minimal bu yüzden saç işlerine girmeyi de tercih ederim her zaman.
O yüzden sayıya daha çok ihtiyaç var.
Evet. Şimdi tabii böyle olduğu zaman doğal olarak daha gerekli ve bu alan için sadece neredeyse 4000 sayıya ihtiyacım olduğunu belirtmek istiyorum kendisine. Bu sayıları çıkartmam zor olabilir. Dolar bölgesine zarar vermek istemediğimiz için özellikle bu overall görselleri de istemediğimiz için. Bu yüzden evet bu çizgide şu an hemfikiriz fakat oldu ki o sayılara ulaşamıyorum. Onunla tekrardan yeni bir plan yapacağımı da belirtmek istiyorum.
So, can you have a mirror?
Oh, yeah.
So, she said that she will start from the hairline and more or less she will do the transplantation like starting from here and then she's gonna follow like, as it is. She said that you have some hair here, yes, but if we wanna have like a decent full look here, she needs to also enter like in between the hairs where you have like lacking a little bit,
Yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm.
That's why in this case she would need around 4,000 grafts. But she
4,000.
said that since we talked about like over harvesting and we don't
Yeah.
want to do that,
No.
if
Yeah.
we cannot have the graft number that we're aiming right
Mhm.
now, she might need to carry the hairline a little bit back. That's always
That's okay.
always
I'd
a
rather
scenario.
go a more conservative approach.
Okay.
Yeah, than do too much.
It's
Okay.
basically what we do when we are extracting. We are doing the best numbers without damaging. Just
Yeah.
keeping these hairlines between, hair roots.
Is this also accounting for eyebrows?
Aynen.
No.
Kaşı için de konuşuyormuş değil mi?
Yes, we're
But
gonna
separate.
count to the eyebrow.
Full tıraşa ihtiyacımız var zaten. Kendisi de fark
Onlar
ediyor.
tıraşlıyoruz zaten.
Bunu anlatmak istiyorum. Biraz zaten yorumlarda da hastanın için öngörüleri paylaşmış arkadaşımız. Ben şimdi onu şunu çok iyi anlatmak istiyorum. Kendisi overhaul sistemi ama iyi bir saç istiyoruz.
Evet.
Hattımız bu şekilde. Yaklaşık olarak 4.000 sayılara ihtiyacımız var. Özellikle bayanlarda zaten full tıraşı %100 öneriyorum. Bunun sebebi ise zaten saçlarımızın ince yapıda olması, kafa yapımızın küçük olması ve geriye doğru özellikle çok karşılaştığımız bir durum olduğu için geriye doğru dökülmelerde donöre de etki ettiği için doğal olarak biz istiyoruz ki hem donördeki esnekliği koruyalım hem de işimizde de en iyi çalışmayı sağlayalım. Bu yüzden olabilecek en geniş alandan alım yapmayı tercih ediyorum. Kesinlikle bayanlarda bunu çok mantıklı buluyorum. Burada kendisi şunu söyleyebilirim ki ben tecrübelerime dayalı olarak ona en iyisini yönlendirmek istiyorum. Bugün kendim de aynı şekilde bu işlemi istesem full tıraşı sırf bu yüzden isterim. Çünkü neden? Biliyorum ki ne kadar geniş alanım olursa o kadar dağılmak ve o kadar esnek olan böyle liste çıkartmak mümkündür. Bu fikirleri paylaşalım, kendisine düşünün, öğrenin.
So, basically, first of all, she said that we also can have the 4,000 graft number. We don't know yet, but she also said that in order to have the graft number that we need and in order to have the hairline that you want, she does want to have the donor area as wide as possible. Because if we have the donor area small, we need a good number, so we would over harvest it and we don't want to do that, so we have to keep it as wide as possible. That is why she was suggesting to actually like fully shave the head. What do you think about it?
Oh, that's rough.
I know it's rough, but she
Yeah.
said that like if she was getting this procedure today, she would go for the full shave anyways. In the end, for the end case, it would be a lot better.
Ben de gerçekten içime sinirse çalışmak istiyorum ona. En güzel sonucu vermek istiyorum. Bu yüzden de biraz ısrarcı olmak istiyorum ona. Sadece donör şey bizim için çünkü gerçekten yeterli olacak. Ancak şurada minimal bir saçlık bırakabilirim. Çünkü ben bu sayıya ulaşmak için bu bölgeyi tamamen şu şekilde yuvarlayarak bir alım yapmayı hedefliyorum. Ama bunu bıraktığımda da onun için ne kadar tatmin edici bir görsel olur ondan emin değilim.
She said that with keeping donor area wide, the only amount of hair that she can actually leave is this one. But I don't know if you would be happy with that.
It would look pretty silly. So I do have a question. So with 4,000 grafts, would it look too much? Like, would it be super thick and compacted to where it doesn't like match the density of the rest of my scalp?
Diyor ki 4.000 graft alıp buraya koyarsak çok mu fazla sık gözükür, arkasıyla uyumsuzluk yaşanır mı?
Aslında amacımız bu. Zaten buradaki saçları çok yoğun olduğu için ben aynı yoğunluğu Ömer'de verebilmek istiyorum ki o doğallığı yakalayabileyim. Yoksa bu çizgiden devam edip de eğer sayımda istediğim gibi çıkartamazsam seyrek bir sonuç önde olur ve o zaman çok ayrı bir görsel oluşmuş olur. Hedefimizin bu olduğunu özellikle söyleyerek.
Evet. Actually, in contrary, it's the other way around because she said that since we have this wide opening with the 4,000 number of grafts, we actually want to keep the same density that you already have in your hair. So we want to have the same density in the hairline, but starting with the baby hairs, of course. We want to make a whole like united look.
Ve bunu yaparken aslında donör bölgesindeki o eşitliği korumayı çok istiyorum. Yani kendisi saçlara dokunduğunda alım yapıldığını hissetmeyeceği seviyede bırakmayı hedeflediğim için aslında bu kadar geniş alanlara ihtiyaç duyuyorum.
And she said that the reason why she wants to keep the donor area as wide as possible because again we need 4,000 grafts, and she said that after the procedure she really wants you to like not feel the fact that some hair has been extracted from the donor area.
Okay.
She said that when you touch your hair, when you touch the back of your head, she doesn't want you to feel like there was some operation happened. That's why she wanted to keep it as wide as possible. That's why she's also insisting actually about it.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's a tough yes, but I guess it is what it is. Yeah.
I mean, it is for a good cause eventually.
Right.
So.
I have an understanding when I came in that that would be a possibility.
Onun buna ihtiyacı olduğu için söyledikten sonra.
She
Peki.
said that of course we have some patients that we only shave the donor area and we don't need to shave more. But she also wanted to tell you that like there's difference with the receding, with the hairline and everything, with the type of hair. That is why with some patients we can go with just shaving the donor area, but with some patients we have to widen the donor area to have a best result. Okay. Good question.
Teşekkür ederim. Harika. Yani ben çok tatlı birisi bence. Zor birisi değilmiş.
Bence
Evet. Öyle yorum yapılmış çünkü de. Kaşlarını da gördüğüm sadece köşelerini doldurmak istediğini gözlemlemiştim. Bunu da teyit ediyorum.
And when it comes to eyebrows, you only want the corners to be filled with your.
Yeah, I actually have a picture.
Okay,
So
that sounds good.
when I was in Istanbul yesterday, Dr. Sita, we talked about the amount of grafts that we would use, and I came into this thinking, okay, maybe like 2,500. Like I don't want to overdo it, but Dr. Sita assured me that we're looking at 4,000 grafts, and in order to reduce the risk of overharvesting, and in order to do that, we'd have to shave my whole head. And that's something I came prepared with. Being actually in the office and accepting that was a little bit hard. You can see I made my choice. And my understanding was that our max amount of grafts we would use would be 4,000. And I mentioned that because that comes into play later in my experience. And after the consult, we were whisked off to a separate building where they actually do the surgery. The building is called Novopol. First thing that happened was being placed in like the surgical room itself. At the actual surgery center, I was very, very nervous. And what Dr. Sita did, because noticing my emotional state, was she included the sedation for free. There's all these little things that the staff did that I really appreciated, like holding my hand when things got uncomfortable, and making sure I was okay and constantly checking up on me, which I think is great bedside manner. When I was in the actual room within the surgery center, I was moved over to a place where they shave your head, and I actually have a bag. You can either choose to save it or not, your hair. So this is well over 2 years of hair growth in this ball right here. You go back to the surgical room, they clean you up, they put like an IV in you, they run a blood test, all the works, and that is to prepare you for the actual explantation, and that takes about 4 hours. That went fine, although there was a part when I was getting a little bit nervous because they said like we're almost done, and like I still feel them taking out hair grafts, and even though you're numbed up, it feels very uncomfortable when you're awake. And I think that's why I was super nervous, because it's a different experience when you're having some type of intense procedure when you're actually awake and you can experience it. It doesn't matter if you're numb, like you're literally there, you feel the weird sensations, you hear noises. During the explantation process, I was getting really nervous because like I am just afraid of getting more explanted than what I bargained for. And so at some point, like, okay, I need a translator, and they have like 3 translators in the building. In order to express my concerns, Dr. Sita came and she's like, okay, just trust the process, like just trust me, like it'll be fine, and we'll go from there. And like we had a short exchange, and I felt comfortable, and I'm like, okay, just do the thing. Had lunch after. They fed me a nice salad with falafel. And when I came back, Dr. Sita actually made the channels, and that's something that she does as part of the gold package, which I was quoted $300, and then the eyebrows were an extra $800, and then they included the sedation for free. Usually that's not $800, it's like $400, $300 to $400, which I do recommend if you are someone who can't thug it out like me. With that being said, Dr. Sita made the channels within my hair, and that's one of the most important parts in order to make sure that the hair is at the right depth and it comes out in a way that is natural. And then everything changed for the worse. Dr. Sita told me that 4,500 grafts were taken from my head, and that was far more than I had bargained for. And she wanted to take more. And I wasn't okay with that. Again, my concern was doing too much. And what happened, and I'll try to make this as brief as possible while staying accurate to what had occurred. I have a translator come in, and Dr. Sita speaks very little English. Like, basically, you can only communicate with her with a translator. She says, okay, I want this to be perfect for you. Like, well, I want you to take the extra, we want an extra 500 grafts. So 5,000 total, which is crazy after the 4,500 that was already taken. And I know that's something that some people do, but it's not something I felt comfortable with. And that's the key there. And so the translator comes to me and says, well, we want this to be perfect. We're going to take that for you. And then I tell the translator, I understand, but it's not something I feel comfortable with, and I am happy working with what we have. If the hairline is a little bit farther back, like, I'm okay with that. That's okay. We go through this cycle about 3 times, and at some point I tell the translator, okay, this conversation is getting cyclical. I don't feel comfortable taking more grafts. There came a point when the translator stopped translating for me and just started replying on behalf of Dr. Sita. And here's the thing, at least for me, in a situation where you have a patient and doctor relationship, it needs cooperation, right? You have to balance the patient's expectations versus the doctor's expertise and meld that together to bring a solution that's compromising. You do it in sales, you do it in relationships, you do it in a doctor-patient situation. But what had happened in this case was they kept insisting, and I told the coordinator, I don't want to feel pressure to do something that I'm not comfortable with. And even though I said that, they weren't listening to me. And I was getting frustrated because I do not want to move forward with something I don't feel comfortable with. I was getting mixed messages that, like, if we stop now, the sides will be uneven. I also got the message that if we continue to go, you're not going to see much of a difference. So, like, which one is it? Because I didn't feel that there wasn't really a solution coming from this conversation, because there came a point when Dr. Sita started elevating her voice, and she was talking with her staff, not just talking, like raising her voice. And I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where someone is speaking a foreign language and they sound angry and they're raising their voice, and you don't know what to do because you can't understand them. And my translator stopped being that communication pathway and just kept repeating the same thing. And I said, like, I'm not going to feel pressured to do this. I want to work with what we have because I would trust an expert to find a solution for that. And she kept raising her voice and talking with her staff. And then at this point, I'm like, okay, this isn't working. So I shut down and I just let them talk. And at some point, I told the translator, because I'm thinking of like different solutions and a way to do this, that personally, I think the doctor should have had the forthcoming to bridge the solution. But I basically said, how about, we just do the implantation and see how it looks and then go from there. I said that twice because, again, cyclical conversation, not listening. Apparently that wasn't a good enough solution. And at some point, like, Dr. Sita had left the room, and I can hear her audibly like arguing and saying things in Turkish, and like I can understand, And I was just like, is this really happening? I said that out loud. Like, I can't believe this. Is this really happening? I don't know if it's arrogance or just very firm in not trying to bridge a solution. And it was very uncomfortable. I was very, very uncomfortable. When she had left the room, I can still hear from the hallway, like saying things. I don't know what they are, but saying things in a frustrated tone. But eventually what had happened was finally accepted that resolution of, let's continue with the implants, see where we are, and go from there. We started doing the implants, and I had a question. So they called a different translator, and what she said when she came into the room was, oh, someone said you needed me. And it was the scoffing that, like, I don't know, it just became so hostile at that point. And I was trying to be kind as possible because, one, you're working on my body, so like I don't want to piss you off. And then two, there's also a language barrier. So something that someone may communicate in a different language, with very little communication that you have, can come off as wrong. But especially because, like, I paid for this and I want to have this go well. Yeah, the translator was a little bit rude and started scoffing, and there was a certain tone. And I said thank you anyways after she answered my question about keeping my hair. And then there's another question, very minimal, PRP. I wanted to know about when the PRP would be performed because I saw different reviews stating like remind them to do the PRP because they may not do it or forget. Continue to do the implants, and when we get to the end, it's like around 7 o'clock at night. Dr. Sita comes in with the translator, and it was kind of weird. The first things that were communicated with the translator. The translator was basically restating everything that was. I thought this would be like new information, like about how the surgery went, blah 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 blah. But instead, he comes and just says the same thing. Like I heard there was an issue about the 500 additional grafts, and like we did that. And I'm just like thinking, okay, why are you repeating the same information? Like why aren't you telling me something new to move forward and let me know if it's going to come out right or not? Like give me some more information so that I can make an informed decision on how to move forward. But no, he just says it, and I ask him like, do you have any like new information for me? And then he says the same thing over again, and I'm just like, oh, it just sounds like you're complaining. Like I would like to know if like the surgery went well, and so like I asked him to please translate to Dr. Sita, who was right next to him. Do you think that given what we have right now, that my results, I'll be happy with that? Do you think that it will come out badly because I didn't do the extra 500? Like how am I looking like right now in your opinion? At some point he finally translated that, and I got the like, and then Dr. Sita, she kept saying the same thing about the 500 grafts that she really wanted to do. The whole thing was just really cyclical, but the answer was finally provided when she told me, oh, your results will be great. It's just not as perfect as I would have wanted it to. There you go. That's the answer I wanted. I just wanted to know whether I would be happy with what we have. And it just took that entire leeway to do that. Now, the staff in themselves at Heva, they're really nice. They're great. It's just that bedside manner from Dr. Sita that I think needs a little bit of improvement. And it really soured my experience there. And I've already cried enough. I've already had a moment that now I'm able to sit in my thoughts and reflect on that a little bit more. Yeah, it's been a long day. And as you can imagine, like when you take this step and like look at me, this is going to be a very long journey. It puts you in a very vulnerable place, and you want to feel safe with the people that are taking care of you. Yeah, that piece was like a little bit missing. Overall, I think that I will be happy with the results in the coming months, but yeah, I just wish, I don't think I kind of deserved what had happened. Ignoring me, not trying to collaborate, just trying to impose your vision. So, as of right now, I feel very tired. I'm going to eat something. Tomorrow, I do have a wash day at 11 a.m., and we'll go from there.